Hello again. Well, TASC, the organization that began clinical trials to see if a common TB shot normally given to newborns could help protect hospital workers from developing serious COVID-19. Well, however, unions and activists are calling for the trial to be stopped, saying the study lacks transparency and community engagement. Well, TASC CEO Andreas Diacon joining us this morning to talk about or to respond to that. Prof, a very good morning to you and thanks so much for your time. Let's start with that concern firstly, where we find that labour unions and other interests and other advocacy groups are saying that the study lacks transparency and community engagement.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for asking this question. The study that we're doing is a common clinical trial, how they are done by the dozens in this country all the time, and the process to set it up was actually followed just the same way as it usually is. And we did this in a very short time under lockdown 5 conditions, because obviously this is an intervention that is supposed to protect people from an epidemic that is coming now or is already here. And so we actually took great care to engage with everybody that was around us that would have a stake in it. The city of Cape Town, the province of the Western Cape, private hospitals, public hospitals. We had a group of activists on board that engages usually with the communities to help us with that. And most of our investigators are also part of the team that looks after the COVID-19 patients. I personally work at Tygerberg in the intensive care unit. So we're a little bit surprised about the lack of transparency that is now being brought forward as against the study.
I think to that point, the concern coming from some of them is that there hasn't been satisfactory information provided about exactly how you went about this community consultation.
Yeah, that's what I have heard. So community consultation is not really formally part of a clinical trial. And this was mainly done by our partner organization, TB Proof, who has engaged with the people that they found was appropriate. And what is currently going on out there, there's a certain discontent between groups that are looking after community engagement, and this is a bit remote from the actual science. I felt that the trial as we are doing it is not actually under question here. It's how the community should be engaged in it. And this is not something that actually has a proper regulated procedure for it. So I would much, support that these groups actually talk to each other and find a way that we researchers can reliably go about engaging the right communities at the right time. Right now, I don't really feel it appropriate for that trial to stop for something that, is controversial at best.
The other issue is the provision of protective gear. They say that there is a concern that not enough of that is being provided for those who are part or involved in carrying out the study.
That is true. That has also been discussed before. I mean, protective gear is part of a strategy that every healthcare facility has, and it starts with administrative measures, where patients suspected of having COVID, how they are admitted, to which ward they go, who looks after them. And then you have these entire, like SOPs, standard working procedures in hospital, and personal protective equipment is part of this. So obviously this should be provided by the people that put these rules in place in these healthcare facilities. And we as researchers are a bit reluctant to try and interfere there because it would set a double standard. And we also relatively clear in our trial that personal protective equipment and following the rules, and it starts with the social distancing, that this is the only thing we really know helps. And our trial will in no way want people to stop doing that. I mean, at best, we are a little bit of an extra protection over and above the personal protective equipment.
Prof, I'm not sure I'm very clear on what you've just said. When you say it's true, is there a shortage? Are they not being provided with the gear that they actually need to help you, get some answers when it comes to the study? And seeing as you are running the study, do you not take some of that responsibility to make sure they have everything they need to keep them safe?
Yeah, it's not part of our study protocol. We do ask them about this, and we do remind them to use it. And we have so far from no participant heard that they have experienced shortages there where they come from. But that doesn't really entitle me to make a pronunciation about the entire country's supplies. And to me, it's also, the shortage of PPE where it is a supply problem. It's not actually something that we researchers, of course, now we could go and order from the same place that the other people order, but we would not get any more protective equipment than the hospitals themselves would, because it's just not available.
Okay, so but for now they have what they need, you're saying, or do you think that there is space to provide them with more to keep them safe?
A clinical trial is done between investigators and the participants, and we have now 260 participants on the trial, and none of them has expressed to us that there is a shortage of PPE in their environment. Okay. That's all I can say. But our trial is not measuring PPE, so I don't really have a good, good information about that. It's just that so small sample of people that we have on the trial, they do not experience shortages.
Okay, and there's also a demand here from activists that this trial be re-reviewed by regulatory bodies that cleared you to begin enrolling volunteers, including SAPRA, before it can continue. Would you be open to that?
Well, the trial has been reviewed by SAPRA and 2 ethics committees, and they have looked at it very carefully and given us permission to do this. So I am in no position to influence that. So there is now discussions about this, and if these authorities know about it, we informed them about the letters that we have received, and if they decide to reopen the case and look at our study, I'm certainly going to be listening to them, yes.
All right, thanks very much for your time. The Task CEO, Professor Andreas Diacon.